Come on in. You can say hi in the chat. Halo, what Halo?
That's great.
I know what you're talking about. I just feel good today. Technology. You know what's better than the Halo? This class is going to be number one. All right, let's get started for real.
Oh, that's cool.
All right, let's get rolling. I'm gonna have to tell the band to stop. There we go. My mic going here. Welcome. That's better. How you doing all tonight, today, this morning, wherever you are?
Great.
Good to see you.
Great.
Hi.
Good.
So you can have your, if you're here live, you can have your video in gallery or speaker view, totally up to you. And you're welcome to have your video on. Say hi. I'll meet you all in a second here. Let's do that and get rolling. Before actually I meet you all, how's everyone's creative space going? Are you creating? Are you calling on your creative intuition, or are you slumping in the COVID depression of the world? I'll wait until things get better next year energy.
Good.
I can't be creative. It's no. Too busy. I have responsibilities. Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? I love that excuse. I have creativities for people who have trust funds. You can't be creative if you have responsibilities like children or a job or a partner or pain you're trying to hold on to. You can't be distracted while you're holding on to your pain. Oh,
Creative responsibilities.
that's right. All right, I'm gonna meet you all here. Um, David, I can't be creative. I'm holding this pain. I'm nurturing it and feeding it and have a bottle for it. I've been holding it for 20 years. I'm getting psychic tomatoes thrown at me right now. Shut up. I have a few jokes I wanted to share as we get going. Actually, I'll unmute you all for the joke part. I forgot. I have to share these jokes, done especially for class. Okay, so first joke, lighten up the mood today. Why did Cleopatra think she didn't need a therapist? Because she was queen of denial. Okay, let's see. One more. I tried to get in touch with my inner child, but he's not allowed to talk to strangers. Oh shit, that shit is too real. Oh man.
Yeah. Great.
All right, last one. This is a dirty joke. It's probably my first dirty joke I've told in this class. Man says to his doctor, I suffer from premature ejaculation. Can you help me? The doctor says, no, but I can introduce you to a woman with a short attention span.
Oh God.
So bad, so bad. I couldn't help it. All right, here we go. That's what I do with my free time. I look up these jokes. Once in a while, I write one, test them on you. I won't tell you which one. If you're here live and you want to share what kind of creative endeavor or endeavors you've been up to, feel free to just write it in the chat box. I've been painting, I've been making music, I have a stamp collection, whatever. I take twigs and put them in shapes of angels. I don't know. It could be absolutely anything. Who knows? Um, I was thinking about the word inspiration today, and it comes from the Latin inspiritus, which means to breathe life into, to breathe life into. And I love that. We create something and we breathe life into it. And I also, when I think of the word inspiration, think of in spirit. So the spirit of something. So writing a memoir, writing a sustainability curriculum, photography, ukulele. I love that. Watercolor painting, sharing songs with your chorus group, journaling. Cool. With your playing with your MIDI player. Yeah, awesome. Lovely. So cool. Creating a business and painting, PowerPoint graphics. That sounds like work and create your creative space put together. Comedy. I love that. Yeah. I do. I've taken some comedy classes too, and it's one of the ways I express my creative energy. Really enjoy it. So today's class is called Awakening Your Creative Intuition. What does that even mean? We are going to find out, and we're going to work on tapping into that intuitive part of ourselves that says, hey, maybe look over here and start creating in this direction. Or today, look over here and start creating in that direction. The only thing about that is creative intuition could be like intuitive eating, where you're like, I intuitively want to eat a whole box of chocolate. I intuitively feel like eating potato chips at 2 a.m. That's what I intuitively feel, so that's what I should do. I don't intuitively feel like going to work today or brushing my teeth. That's a slippery slope, right? To go down that path. Um, and so we want to be able to recognize the difference between our real intuition and just how we feel in the moment. Like, this is what I want. This is how I feel. This is what I want. And there's a clear difference between the two. We will work on recognizing that difference, whether it's with eating, creativity, career choice, partner choice, right? So, and I've talked about our intuitive abilities in other classes. Maybe this is your first class, but we have many different kinds of intuition. And we can feel, uh, sometimes we hear our inner voice, we can see, we can know. Right? There are even more than that, but those would be the main ones for me. We can feel, we can hear, we can see, and we can know. And we all have different strengths with these intuitive abilities, and we can use them for anything in life, for anything, including awakening our creativity. The one that I really like to work with the most and will work with today is our ability to see and to some extent to know. To see and to know. I think we all are pretty familiar with the ability to feel, and we understand what it means to have an inner voice, although sometimes that inner voice can be drowned out by all the noise in our heads. That's why meditating is so important. When you're able to kind of weed out all the external noise, everyone else's ideas and expectations and criticisms, and you're just left with your own true voice, that's when that voice can be really helpful. So meditating is incredible for that. But one of the things most meditators have a hard time with is being able to see and being able to know. So being able to see images, colors, being able to see energy, and being able to know. We're brought up in an intellectual culture, and so you can never really know anything. You're always just intellectualizing. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, but there's not a real deep sense of knowingness, and knowingness goes beyond the intellect. So there is a place we can get into ourselves where we learn how to really truly see and know something for ourselves. And I think people who really go to create something and they follow all the way through and make something beautiful, whether it's recognized by the world or not, is irrelevant. But the ones that really make it all the way through, um, often they're able to really see and to know something deep inside themselves and then give it form, right? So we have this essence inside of ourselves, this energy, this awareness, and then there's this desire in all of us to give it different forms. We want to create forms in the world. One form, you might want to create a baby. Let me create another person that looks kind of like me with ears just as big. and the same laugh. Whatever, right? I'll create a whole bunch of little people. Or I create a garden, or I create a business, or I create a painting, or create a song, right? Maybe one day in the future, and this is my nerdy dream, we'll be creating entire planets, like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Go out and create planets, right? You might create a building, you might build a building. People have created entire countries. They've, right, put their flag down and started entire civilizations. So we all have this essence inside of us, and there's a deep seated desire to create certain things in this lifetime. In You have a small window here. I don't mean to scare you. Time's running out for all of us, right? Longer or shorter. In the big, I can see some of you shaking your heads, David. In the big scheme of things, right? We all kind of have a few minutes on this planet. And how do we want to take that essence inside of us and give it form out into the world? I think that is one of the most important questions we can ask. And then how do I tap into that real deep knowingness inside myself to find out really what it is and see the vision of it clearly? If you want to create something in the world, you have to have a clear vision. Um, and then on a very practical level, uh, the difference between someone who creates on an amateur level and a professional level is the amateur waits for that inspiration every day, and the professional just sits down and does the work, right? Of course, initially there's some kind of inspiration, otherwise, you never would have sat down in the first place. But that inspiration isn't going to just be there so easily every day. So a professional sits down and does the work no matter how they feel every day, just like an exercise regimen, right? If we only exercised when we felt like it, none of us would ever exercise. We'd exercise like once a year. January 1st, I'm ready. January 2nd, cookies over there. Right? So a real pro sits down every single day, no matter what, and carves grooves down their creative channels. Really carve some grooves. And so, and I don't mean create your creative space just like it doesn't have to be art. It could literally be anything. One of the hardest things I ever did recently was I was working on a book, and I was like, this does not come easy to me. Woo, this is hard. And should have majored in writing. And but I would have to sit down again and again and keep writing and writing, and then worked with my editor, realizing all the gaps and places I missed or things that needed to be changed. And it was an incredibly long process, and inch by inch, day by day. Usually, when we create something because we're inspired, we overestimate how quickly we can get it done or how easy it will be. And in reality, it tends to take much more work. Um, and the romantic side of it tends to, after a while, go, and you have to keep working at it anyway. And then you mature into a deeper layer of your creative energy. There's a you start to love the work. You start loving the work that you're doing, no matter what it is. It's not just do what you love, but it's almost more love what you do. Love what you do. You may not, we don't all have the career of our dreams, right? Every morning when we wake up, even if somebody does have the career of their dreams, like I do, and still I'm writing this book, banging my head against the table. If this book wasn't digital, I'd light it on fire. So we have to do that work every single day. And what I found really helped me was one of the things was accountability, having other people to be accountable to, coach, editor, things like that, friends who I told I was writing. That would I have one friend who is a really successful business person, and he's done really well in his career space, and he's coached a lot of people in their careers. And he would message me again and again and again without fail. Where's the book? How's the book coming? How far along are you? Where are you at? You didn't quit, did you? And I would be like, son of a, thank you. He would just again and again and again. So it is important, I think, to have that kind of community around us. And if we don't, start to build it. And if you're like, I don't know how to build it, you be that for somebody else. That's how you build it. You go around the world being that person to everybody else, and then it'll come back to you, guaranteed. If you're doing it in a real, authentic way, people will be there and show up for you. So that's how I've always done it. Um, I've always enjoyed being a cheerleader for other people. So someone asked me the other day, I was with a group of friends, and someone said, David, what do you do for a living? And somebody else said, he just talks for a living. And I was like, that's relatively true. I mean, I write, I record, I do lots of things. I have people that work for me. There's a lot of moving pieces, but yeah, essentially I do, right? I teach, and that's very much a creative endeavor. And it wasn't like I woke up one morning. I was like, inspiration, David will now be a spiritual teacher. Ah, and then all of a sudden it started raining money and students just showed up like I was Jesus standing on the mount and they just all came. Yeah, and then the acid wore off and I was sitting on a bench at a train station alone. So that's not how it worked. It took me 10 years of an insane amount of work. And that was after 10 years of meditating, and then another 10 years of another layer of work. So I never pretend it's easy. It's probably not going to be easy, and the inspiration will come and it will go. And you have to continue every single day to sit down and to deepen those grooves into whatever you're doing. And what happens is it's like you solidify your vessel for the information and the inspiration to kind of download into you. So it's like if I can't speak Spanish and I'm like, I want to know the truth of the world, and somebody's telling it to me in Spanish, I'm going to get nothing, right? Nice accent. So I have to I have to learn this language so that when the information comes in, I can interpret it and understand it. So, for example, maybe I bring in information by seeing images. That's one of the things that I do. I close my eyes, I see images, and that's how I get a lot of my information, or I get an inspiration of knowingness from meditating. But that came through years of practice. So, for example, I spent years sitting in a chair and pulling the people out of my head that in my life made me feel like I didn't know anything, or that I would never be able to see what was true for me, or heal all the instances that I felt super invalidated by life, where I wouldn't be able to create something, or I didn't have any value. So I spent years working on those pieces inside of me, and then when the inspiration came, it didn't, instead of hitting, going through this prism of I'm not good enough, and then it gets warped, and then you're like, what is that weird puddle of information? Or it comes in through, nobody knows anything, so why would you try to understand life? Maybe it would hit me that way. So I had to work through those layers and continue to, well, my entire life, so that the information could come in and I could interpret it and understand it in a healthy, healing way. And that is a life's work. I don't want to make it sound like one day you just reach the mountaintop and you get it. I think it's much more like building muscle over time, just inch by inch, day by day. Um, I have seen people who is kind of trippy who have not done maybe the work on the inside, and they get like one lightning strike of inspiration, and they're like, I'm going to create this huge thing and change the whole world. And then they make a mess. They just make a mess in their personal lives, in their career, wherever. I'm going to start a spiritual community and be the leader. And then 6 years later, there's like sex allegations and money laundering, and you have people fighting over real estate. And you're like, hey, how did that happen? There was this inspiration for this perfect, beautiful community. Why did that all go to shit? Oh, because there was so much there of the work that hadn't been done yet. And I've seen that happen in the spiritual world because that's like the circles I've run in so many times. There's enough Netflix documentaries about that stuff. The really good one that was out last year, earlier this year, I can't remember. Not Wild Wild West. Is that what it's called? Something like that. Darn it, the one in Oregon. If somebody knows it, you type it in. Um, that was an interesting documentary. So you might do that someone might get inspiration. I'm ready to meet my soulmate, and then they go create something really warped, right? So we have to do that work. Osho, yeah, it was the Osho one. Osho was a huge inspiration for me when I was a teenager, reading his books, right? So he had a lot of information, a lot of incredible information come down through him. But then the person that it came through, you know, light kind of bends through the prism a little bit. And man, did they make a mess? They made quite the mess. Uh, that's why I only teach on Zoom. Keep everyone away. Although I'm on laughing gas right now. Well, it's natural. My body creates it. It's an inside joke from that documentary. The guy was taking laughing gas all the time, the guru. What a way to get through the day, laughing gas. It's pretty creative, actually. So, what is it that, before we go into meditation, where is it in your life that you are looking around going, well, how do I sharpen my own self so that I can create more clearly and more in alignment with my life's purpose and my path? Where is there a blind spot or something I feel uncomfortable with or uncertain about? Somewhere that I've been blocked in some way that needs more attention. So intuition is we don't develop intuition by taking ayahuasca and sitting on a cloud. All right. I mean that, yeah, you could get a really good poem out of that and make some deep life changes. I'm not knocking it, but we develop intuition through working through our own layers of stuff, because that's where the real knowledge and information and shifts of energy happen. That's where a lot of times inspiration happens. As Glennon Doyle says, if you want to find your purpose, find what breaks your heart, right? So, so somebody's like, every time I close my eyes, I feel pain around relationships. Well, wow, you've got this whole life path around certain kind of relationships, right? You might you might heal that, and then you might create something out of that healing. Might be really beautiful that comes out of that. In fact, every coach, teacher, and healer I know has a story that they went through their personal pain or dark night of the soul of some kind, where they got really stuck and hurt, healed, and then decided to help others, right? It could come in countless forms for you. And it's likely that an experience like that may very well be the creative inspiration for you. So it's a good place it's not the only place to look, but it's a good place to look. It's often a good place to look. Um, and like I said, today we're going to focus mostly on seeing and knowing, but however you experience it for yourself is totally valid. Wild Wild Country, that's the documentary. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, that's a good one. I watched that like, damn, I can't believe what they did. Pretty crazy stuff. I think I read literally 100 of his books by the time I was in my early 20s. I started reading philosophy and spirituality ferociously as a teenager, and just like just devoured everything. There was no internet. I mean, there was internet barely. There wasn't like YouTube. There wasn't much out there yet. So these books were still kind of the only way to get all the information. I feel very blessed that was the case. Now you get super lazy, just watch something, watch David talk, right? Watch something. I think reading is still a pretty good way to go.